Honorable Chairperson, Ndosibe Sesibingelele mfowethu, and honorable members. I don't have a lot to ask, Ndosi, because you were very eloquent in your presentation of your evidence, and in fact you helped some of us a great deal in terms of clarifying some of the areas that had remained gray after the presentation of evidence by some of the witnesses that had appeared before us here, before you came. But I just want to kick off by asking you, Ndosi, whether you were aware that Lieutenant General Mncwango was going to hold a press conference on the 6th of July, 2025.
No, I was not aware, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Ndosi. At that conference, General Mncwango actually raised a number of issues. I'm not going to dwell on a number of them, but just a few. One of them is political interference that he actually raised. So I just want you to clarify the issue of the disbandment of the PKTT, whether it was, in your view, whether it was not a classical case of political interference in the operations of the police.
I'm sure you remember that General Mncwango has never said a word about me there. I'm sure you remember that General Mncwango has never said a word about me there in that conference. So the interference I would not be able to explain. But Chairperson, it's a situation that one has been trying to explain from all angles, without being the NCA that talks about all angles. So one has really tried all angles on this matter of political interference, and the person, nothing will change me as I'm sitting here to believe that the process was wrong to disband the PKTT. Whether that is illegal, legal gurus will have to explain. Whether that is unlawful, law gurus will have to explain. I just know one English word: it was wrong. Whether that is an interference, I don't know. Whether that is not doing the proper work, I don't know. But I believe, and that does not mean I'm correct, by the way, but I believe that it was wrong. It should have been done the way it came. That road that it came on, of the president, the interministerial, the officials, the team itself, could have done so. One little thing that could have been done here, one, is some form of consultation and talking to somebody. Now I know that even Mncwango and Masimula did not get the audience. I even know, let's say then it's practical, it's operational, I know. They did not get this letter that says you go and do it and report on the letter should have better said, you go and give me the report by the 20th of January of this PKTT, and from there I take the decision. I don't find the logic. So they must explain then it was interference, was the unlawful, illegal and all, but I will stand by my words that it was wrong.
Yeah, I'm asking this question, Ndosi, because the National Commissioner, when he appeared before us here, he was really very, adamant that that directive was actually a gross interference into his terrain as National Commissioner. So you having been the National Commissioner and also a Minister of Police, I think you are better placed to actually have a better understanding of exactly what was happening here. So that is in that context that I'm asking this kind of a question, Ndos.
Well, if it were me, as a National Commissioner receiving this letter, without really being arrogant and pompous about it, I would have said, stay on your lane, Minister. That can't happen. I would have said so.
Then
If I would really want to be modest, I would have said, can we have a discussion on the matter and privately tell him to stay on his lane or her lane.
Thank you, Ndosi. I mean, arising from that, I'm just asking myself exactly just how do ministers of police resist the pressure that might be exerted on them by the political environment within which they operate to find themselves sometimes using their powers and using the powers that they wield over the operations of the police to actually unleash that against their political opponents. Could be their, inter-party opponents or intra-party, opponents.
Well, I hear you saying, how do the police ministers, which ministers?
Ministers of police, that could be Mr. Bheki Cele, it could be Minister Mncwango, it could be Minister Mthethwa, but I'm just looking at the temptation of ministers wanting to use the police to actually settle political scores with their political opponents in other parties or within their own parties. And I'm saying this because Mncwango, when he was here, he told us that the Minister of Police came at Mandeni during the by-election campaign and went to the police station and demanded to know why the candidate so-and-so of political X has not been arrested. So I'm coming from that context, Honorable Ndosi.
My problem is your generic statement of why ministers. There's been Mafumati, there've been Mafumati, there've been Chwete, there've been Cele, there've been Balule. We never went to the council and asked why are we not arrested. So it remains the question of the individual, Mbangazita, on that matter, rather than putting the generic statement that said police of the ministers, as if we have encountered such thing before. So let's talk about what happened exactly and relating it to the person that happened. I did hear that statement from Mncwango. I really cannot. I really cannot tell the police that you go and arrest so and so. Even if there are things, you would ask why so and so is taking long, and they'll explain to say we're working on this. But you can't. Maybe the both worlds, Mpangazita, help me. to understand the administration side of the police and the political side of the police. Maybe I really benefited out of that. As I've said to you, there are orders that I've refused to take as a national commissioner. And so I would not then give them as a minister when I know myself that how should you behave as a national commissioner. I think it's more of an experience and the understanding of environment rather than doing wrong things.
Thanks, Ndose. And again, I was actually asking these questions in the context of this thing of political interference, because in the letter where the minister actually gave directive to dissolve the PKTT, the first point, the first issue that is discussing is an instruction not to fill the vacancies in the intelligence component of the police. And that was an instruction from the minister not to fill those positions. And you had just told us that actually the person who employs is the existing structures within the police, hierarchy and the police structure, not the minister. But now the minister is coming in and is actually instructing the national commissioner to not employ anybody to continue to fill in those vacant posts.
Pangazita, I'm very jealous to be national commissioner. It's a nice job. Being a minister, you are very limited. The real power of running the police, unless we say one day we need to revisit it, is with the national commissioner. You are limited to two words there, policy and directing. Commissioner said you will command, reorganize and do everything. What you are talking about, that employing and not employing, as a minister, you run far from that thing. You are not going to tell, maybe let me tell you the secret here. There is this regulation of concurrence. I did not like it when Kumalo was the head of intelligence by the national commissioner. But it's a prerogative and his last word, because I thought he would be more concentrating when he's dealing with the task team issues. But I can't win when it's very clear who appoints. It's very clear. So when you tell when and how and where, what area and all that, Mary, by the way, has serious problem with intelligence and Kumal. I suspect Mary again.
Okay, thanks, Dosi. General Mdluli, you told us that something very unique actually happened when General Mdluli was going to be, I don't know whether appointed or promoted.
Appointed.
There was a panel of ministers that actually interviewed him. And you said that was unprocedural. Again, is that not an example of political interference in the operations and the working of the police? Why did the national commissioner not do the job? And you were the national commissioner.
No, I was not a national commissioner. I was not there.
Sorry about that.
He was employed June, I came in July. But there was an acting national commissioner, I think General Williams. He was not part of that panel. And definitely the responsibilities of the national commissioner, there was an acting national commissioner who was not invited. Again, whether that's interference, I would say it is wrong. It does smell interference, but I'll end up with the word it was wrong.
Thank you, Ndose. Can you share with us?
It doesn't smell Mncwango. Smells.
Can you share with us what was his special role in the police establishment?
Who?
Mdluli.
Was the head of crime intelligence.
Oh, thank you.
That was his job, was the head of crime intelligence.
So why did you suspend him?
There would be two things, but this time he was being investigated and to be charged. I can't remember if he was charged, but was investigated for some matter that has taken place in East Rand. It looks like somebody died because was suspecting uthatha umuntu wakhe. And then somebody died, and then that was an issue. So with that investigation of the matter and all those kind of things, so there had to be suspension. That's why he was suspended.
And also, you shared with us that at some point you actually got an instruction to fire Lieutenant General Shabalala,
Yes.
who was head of PSS.
Yes.
Where was that instruction coming from?
Come from the Minister and Deputy Minister of Police and said they were sent by the President. President was Zuma at the time.
Again, I want to cite that as one example of political interference. And you continue to say, to tell us that, there's this general whom you actually said was fired. Is it? Oh yeah, General Shabalala. I believe that it must have actually been connected with the use of Waterkloof Air Force Base by the Guptas. Was it not connected with that?
Sean Shabalala, may his soul rest in peace too, because he died. Looks like the story I heard is that he was too close to President Mbeki, so he could not fit to the new presidency. And indeed, they were very, very close. Even at the funeral of Sean Shabalala, President Mbeki attended. There was that thing that his scene was too close to Mbeki, but he was also close to Mandela before they came, and so that would be reason I know. I'm not guaranteeing that is the only reason.
Then poor Brigadier Tau, why had he to be fired? And who actually dished out that kind of instruction?
Mbeki was supposed to have gone, I guess, to France. When the announcement was made that he withdrew, he went and made the statement. And then the advanced team had gone. And then Tau was also the part of operations of the protection of president then. And he was in Algiers en route to Paris, and was instructed not to proceed to come back. And himself, he was to be removed. Though he stayed a little bit of time, but I think he resigned himself and he joined AXA. He ended up working for AXA. Was one of the very good operational manager, Tau, and I know him because technically he trained me on techniques when we were in the bush in Angola.
Thank you, Ndosi. The establishment of the PKTT, can we look at that? You told us that the president at somewhere in Maritzburg visiting the family of a councillor who had actually been killed made an announcement that he was going to set up a team to actually deal with issues of violence, political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. And then he set up the IMC, which actually ended up setting up that task team. I want us to be clear here exactly what was that, because we had in one evidence that was led here early this week that it was the NPKTT. And Undosi says, let us drop the N and remain with PKTT. What exactly did the president actually establish?
I didn't say drop the N. I said I don't know it. I don't know the N. I didn't say drop it. If somebody puts it and he knows it, let it be. But me, I don't know anything. The president says, as in these ministers, these ministries, you go and deal with the problem in KZN, was not even to say in particular in KZN, it was KZN, because if you say in particular in KZN, there would be other places. So there was no in particular. It was just the KZN dealing with it. I don't know, but then it has gone a little bit out of the province when it comes to 40 issues and a little bit of Gauteng. I don't know if N comes from there.
Yeah, the argument was very strong that this was a national task team. It was never actually intended to be a provincial one.
If the discussion had taken place, you know, Mbangazita, one thing that I've looked here, that most of the discussions that are taking place there, they would have been more relevant if they were discussing the IMC. That's my strong feeling I have, that there would have been more relevant discussions if they were discussed on the IMC. Poor IMC then was not given the opportunity to sort matters out.
Well, no, see, you were the chairperson most of the time of the IMC, which actually had the responsibility to brief or report to the president on the progress that PKTT was actually making. Your last report, or the last meeting of the IMC, was in September 2023. Why did you not call regular meetings after that? Those, because
We're working for elections. We're campaigning for elections. We need to see the PKK when you campaign.
But the dust was actually, the conflicts were high.
But Mbangazita, on the 7th of March 2024, the team did brief the president. PKTT. This is March now, 2024, just 2 months away from the election.
Then, Dosige, then taking from that, then how do you reconcile that? Because the reports that we have seen so far, written reports about the operations and the successes that the PKTT, were making, how do you reconcile that with the assertion in the letter of dissolution that the PKTT has in fact overstayed its welcome? Secondly, it was not adding any value to the general operations of the South African police. It was a total waste. How then do you reconcile these two? The success story of the operations of the PKTT and the assertion by the minister in his directive that this structure actually was not working.
No, now Mbangazita, sorry, you are crying at the wrong funeral now. You are literally crying at the wrong funeral. You should have asked that question before I came here. Because how do I consult something that does not exist? It does not exist. It does not exist that it did not do the job. It does not exist that it was not. It was not stopping the. All those things don't exist, and you had an opportunity to ask that question. That's why I'm saying we are crying at the wrong funeral.
Ndosi, this is what was said. Under oath. That is why I'm concerned, because this was said to us under oath by no less a person than the Minister of Police of this country. So that is where my concern comes from. At any rate, we can continue.
Just pass it.
Yes.
This team is established. That time, political personnel, leaders and councillors were dying every week. I would agree. I had Honorable Mathis saying was the ANC. Yes, the majority was the ANC because councillors, but people were dying every week. I'm telling you, every week. And councillors all gathered. I'm saying to you, councillors from Nongoma sleeping at Richards Bay, you know of Aginika Nongoma. And you know how far you drive to wake up every day there and work there. That thing subsided, no doubt about it. A lot of people, I don't have the figures, but I think there are more than 40 people that do life sentences. And it started from 2011 where there was nobody arrested. There are a lot of people that are doing between 10 and 73 years and all that. By the way, there is a long list of cases that are still investigated. There where other problem would be, if you shut, there is that term, what is that term, shut when? Immediately. So if you shut immediately, what do you do with all those that are investigated going forward and all that? I don't want to come to this allegation. I don't deny them of Matlala and the Big Five and all that. But I'm talking about the thing that is in front of us. Then it subsides. It doesn't get finished. Flares up. The last one, the big one, was the death of Councillor Mncwango at Nongoma at the age of 75. Those people were arrested. That's why a little bit of stability. When you go to the country at the present moment, you go to eThekwini, the councillors there, they are guarded. They're not guarded because lions are going to eat them, those councillors. They are guarded because there is a fear that they'll be shot and killed. I'm told at this time, Honorable Mathis, that there are big two political organizations, ANC and IFP, that they are guarded. Which means, while there is some work done and seen, we are not there yet, not yet uhuru, for the things to be stabilized and say, Mr. President, you said you go to KZN and deal with that matter. Now we have dealt with this matter. Sorry that it took long time, but took long time and more money, but the mission accomplished. We go to the president, we say, Mr. President, there is instability in that province. Councillors are guarded. Councillors, they still run around the chase and all that thing. But the time is finished. I'm sure the president will say, I didn't know that I'm sending mad people there. So that's the context of this matter. And I want to argue, if these meetings were called, these things would have been debated and discussed and understood there.
Well, thanks, Ndosi. Although I'm also still namang pategile nje kahle because the death of Councillor Duma wangale Engoloja still remain outstanding. It has actually not been resolved until now. A young man.
Several of them, and most of them still under investigation.
Yes, okay. The meeting of the 6th of December, Brigadier Kunene, in his statement here, believes that that meeting which they held in Mr.
Meeting
Matala's
6th of December.
on the 6th, it's an operation by the
the raid.
police. Yes.
Okay.
2024. They visited the house of Mr. Matlala. It was the 10 PKTT members which Lieutenant General Mncwango had made available to the Gauteng police to assist them in the investigation of some high-profile cases. Then they went to meet Mr. Matlala in his house. And Brigadier Kunene believes that they touched a raw nerve by actually going there. Because after that, then Matlala met with Undos to actually looking for an advice. Ukuthi how is he going to handle this matter? Mkhotsi, in Mr. Matlala's cell phone, which actually had been raided when found on him in prison now after he had been arrested, carries a conversation that took place between him and Mkhotsi about the incident of the arrest of Mr. Matlala. Now, I'm trying to actually agree with you on the genesis, the chronology of events, which led to the directive on the 31st. And also answer your question, why? What is it that is in January? Everything in January and so on. Now, the National Commissioner then applied for leave on the 27th. On the 28th, he's in Etiskawini with the minister at the funeral of a police officer. The minister does not say anything about the dissolution of PKTT. On Monday, the 30th of December, the National Commissioner goes on leave. On the 31st of December, at 5:20, a letter actually is delivered in the office of the National Commissioner. By the way, the acting National Commissioner at the time was the Lieutenant General Musikili. The letter is not delivered to Musikili. It's actually delivered to...
Msikiti.
Mo?
I know where Zulu is Msikiti. L is D in Sotho.
Oh, Musikili. Okay. Now, I'm actually, annotating all of these events in their chronological order to see that, because I believed that meeting, I agree with Brigadier Kunene, that the meeting of the 6th at Mr. Matlala's, the raiding of Mr. Matlala's residence has a direct bearing on the directive of the 31st. Now I'm troubled by then the conversation of Mkhotsi with Matlala, where Mkhotsi is actually saying to Matlala, no, with Matlala, where Mkhosi is actually saying to Matlala, no, we must actually meet, get the minister. It's somewhere here. I'll get it. The minister must actually do something about this. Now, in your statement, Ndosi, in your conversation with Matlala, he also says something must be done about what actually happened in his residence. So there is this nexus when Mkhwanazi says the minister did what he did to disband the PKTT because he was actually protecting or preventing the PKTT to continue with what they had started on Mr. Matlala. What is your take on that, Ndosi?
It's complicated. Having said my take, Mpangazita, is what you did not mention. The report to Matlala from Mkhosi to say, look, enjoy the new year. That thing that has been troubling you has been removed. For me, that's a big one. To say, Mncwango, hooray, Happy New Year, that thing has been removed. And I wonder by that time, even Masimula did know. By what was the date of Mkhosi giving the message to Matlala to say 1st January?
In fact, it was on the 2nd of January.
Second is really Happy New Year. My take on all what the story have said is there. That is a really Happy New Year. You go eat and dance. Your troubles are gone. What are your troubles? Is a PKTT and this other GC, whatever it is, because I don't know it. For me, that report tells the story that this letter was expected, was high expectation for some people to report somewhere. That is into say, Gondil. Say, go right. So that is my take on your statement, is a report thereafter that was made to Matlala by this almighty Mkhosi.
Ndosi, when you met Matlala, no Mfana Kasputli, I don't know him, I know his father. You were told by Matlala that he had been approached to fund a project of someone who actually wanted to contest for the position of president or deputy of a political party. Were you aware that the same Matlala had actually been approached by Mkhosi to finance the well-being of the associates of the Minister of Police during the January 8th event here in Cape Town of the African National Congress, to a point where the same Mkhosi had actually organized a gala dinner where Lieutenant General Spear also was present. Did he tell you about that as well?
Yes, I knew that setting up or kicking the project of that will be funded of presidency. So they would have started with some funding of the project of his people that would go up there, come down there. Well, also, I think I was told about the accommodation that they would be using. It looks like Matala has a house here at, what is this place where people have houses? That nice place? Bay.
Camps Bay.
Yeah, looks like has a house. So I did hear that he was at the Camps Bay, and I remember that I was told that there is. But yes, that was shared with me. I know the minister has denied that, so that it was a lie. What I didn't understand, that lie, whether it's Mahot or whether it's Matala or Cele, which could be a lie also, that is a lie that it didn't happen. So somewhere, somehow, there is a truth. I hope it will be found one day.
Lieutenant General Spear told us that Mr. Matala was a known figure in the corridors of the headquarters of the police. He was a well-known chap over a period of time. And I presume even during your tenure, Ndosi, Matala frequented the head office of the police. There was a time when Lieutenant General Spear was acting National Commissioner. Matala visited him in his office in the company of his lawyers to actually demand why he has not been paid, something like that. Now, Ndosi is actually telling us that he only met Matala in December through Umpungos. I don't know where your offices were, Ndosi, whether they were within the police headquarters or elsewhere. But Mr. Matala, Lieutenant General Spear, confirmed that Matala was a well-known figure in the corridors of head office in Pretoria.
I didn't have the offices. I didn't. I remember that Honorable Member Kolapanat will remember that we were supposed to move to, what is that building? Telkom Towers, and we never moved there. The last time I was in the sort of an office in Pretoria, Honorable Member, was before COVID. But after COVID, I literally work from the house. They've given me quite a big house there. It has a tennis court, it had a bar, a barless bar, because there was nothing, no alcohol. It had some form of a place where we met. It had an office and all. So every meeting of mine took place there. I never went back to the office. I went once to check if the offices were about the good furniture, and Minister Zikalala was under pressure. He made a statement that I'm coming on Monday because he was as we came in Monday, we were told by the city of Swane to say, you dare go there, the thing is unsafe. Is one building, I think we paid 600 to buy it, honorable members, 600 million. But we have paid to fix it up to 2 billion. And there's nobody working on it. Even those that they went to work, like Istole and Masimula, they've been taken out to go back to where they come from. So I didn't have, and it's funny that doesn't make noise with the police. What made noise is that Cele signed, and they wanted a new building, only signed, and hey, lost his job. There are people who have bought the building, paid 2 billion, and the building is not working and is there. The towers. It's not working. So I didn't have the office.
Thanks, Ndosi. Professor Mary House. You had been a national commissioner, Ndosi, and also a minister. What was his role, or I mean her role during your tenure? Was she actually also so active in actually dishing out instructions to both the national commissioner and the minister? Is this a new phenomenon that Mary House should actually call the shots in the operations of the police?
Oh, Mary Diaz is a wonderful person, you know. I was not on the list, so I was very far on the list to go back to Parliament. I'm sure that was obvious that I'm not going to go back. Okay. Now, 2 days before I think of the announcement of cabinet, Mary Diaz on the, what is this, SAFM, he has an interview to say, I'm very glad that Cele won't come back. in radio. Even before the president is inaugurated, Mary knew I was not going to come back. Okay, fine, you're not going to, and the police are going to be proper and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. But when Mncwango was eating fire on the 6th of July and reading these screenshots and all that, Mary was one of the channels said, you know, I know all those screenshots, they are from Cele's phone. That's what she said. They're not from Mncwango. Hayibo. They're from Cele. Mncwango can't do that. It's Cele that is doing all those things. I know screenshots, but Mary was sure of it. So surely, Bagazita, Mary could not have written to me as a commissioner or as an executive authority. I had some workings with Mary before elections when there was a violence in Durban, in KZN, working with her and Professor Paulos Zulu. So where we would go and report, and they see, and you will remember that were terrible police, especially from KwaZulu. Those were, I'm telling you, those were killers. The guy called Spiwe Mvuyana, those were killers. So we would share things with Meriti. I don't know where it came about, this of Cele threatening taking the Cele to Parliament because Cele goes with the mafias and all. I don't know where it came about. But I did not have the luxury of corresponding with Mary on both my work as a national commissioner and as a minister.
Well, thanks, Ndosi. My parting shot would not be a question, but perhaps just to provoke your thought, Ndosi, to the fact that people out there, this process actually has not helped to strengthen their confidence in the operations of the police. What is it, in your view, that can be done to restore the confidence and the trust of the people in the police? Because clearly, Rome is burning within our crime prevention, setup. What could be done? Thank you, Ndosi.
Mbangazita has just said is said. I hope something could be done, but I don't think that the room is already in ashes. I think something could be rescued, but if I say I can sit here and tell 1, 2, 3 can be done, I'll be lying. It needs a lot of thought through. I meet a lot of police, even at the gym where I gym. I gym in 5 gyms because I don't want Nomvalo to know where I am. So I meet the police and they say things are bad and things are tough for all of them in the organization. It's a sad situation, no doubt about it.
Thank you so much, General. Thank you so much, Pangazita.